Hello, friend of karmic affinity. There are times in life when fate seems to lead us into the darkest and most confusing crossroads. You face the loss of a loved one, the collapse of a relationship, or bitter failures in your career. In those moments of despair, the most aching question that always echoes in our hearts is, why me? Why did misfortune choose to knock on my door and not someone else's? But my dear friend, perhaps nothing is accidental. If you are watching this video while your heart is full of storms, it is very likely that this message has found you for a specific reason. Today, join me in seeking the answer, not to complain, but to see the light behind the darkness. Suffering is not a punishment. My dear friend, when adversity strikes, our first natural reflex is often self-blame. We torment ourselves wondering what we did wrong to deserve this, or whether this is a punishment from fate. But please, breathe lightly and lay down that burden of thought. In the wisdom of Buddhism, suffering has never been a punishment. It is an inevitable and natural part of human existence, just as rain must follow sunshine. The rain does not fall because it hates the flower, but because it is the way the universe operates. No one in this world, whether royalty or monk, can go through life without encountering loss or hurt. Instead of seeing pain as an enemy out to destroy you, try seeing it as a stern, anonymous teacher. The cracks in the soul are precisely where the light of growth seeps in. Without the mud, the lotus cannot spread its fragrance. Without the dark nights, we would never learn to cherish the dawn. Pain comes not to crush you, but to awaken the deep compassion and wisdom sleeping within you. There is an important truth you must engrave in your heart to free yourself. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. The mechanism of suffering. When resistance deepens the wound, why does pain become lingering suffering? The secret lies in our reaction. When facing something unpleasant, the natural tendency of the mind is to fight and deny. We scream in our thoughts, "No, this is not allowed to happen." This fierce resistance is like rubbing salt into our own wounds. The more we struggle, the tighter the ropes bind us. The more we cling to a pleasant past, the more cruel the present becomes. To escape this loop, the key is not to try to eradicate the pain, but to change your attitude. From fighting to observing. Take a step back and look at the pain as a phenomenon happening inside you without judgment. When you observe, you separate yourself from the emotional storm to become the vast sky. Believe that deep within every painful experience, there is always a seed of wisdom waiting to sprout. The story of the salt and the lake. To help you better visualize how the mind determines the level of suffering, let us contemplate the classic metaphor of the handful of salt. Imagine you are holding a handful of white salt. If you drop that salt into a small glass of water, stir it, and drink, you will certainly find it salty, bitter, and impossible to swallow. But if you take that exact same handful of salt to a lake and drop it into the vast water, the water in the lake still retains its inherent sweet freshness. You see, the amount of salt in both cases is exactly the same. It hasn't changed at all. The only difference lies in the capacity of the container. Pain in this life is exactly like that. If our hearts are narrow and stubborn like the small glass, then even a little adversity is enough to cause us extreme suffering. But if we learn to expand our hearts as vast as a great lake, knowing how to accept and be tolerant, then that pain will be dissolved. It is still there, but it no longer has enough power to embitter your life. Always remember this truth. Suffering is the salt, and the only thing that can change is the container that holds it. From why me to what is the lesson? So how can we expand our hearts from a tiny glass into a vast lake? The secret lies in changing the question you ask yourself whenever adversity strikes. Instead of drowning in hopeless blame, asking, "Why me?" Try taking a deep breath and switching to a more constructive question. What is this situation trying to teach me? Examine your heart with these 3 reflective questions. First, is this teaching me about patience, letting go, or courage? Second, what part of me does this pain point out that is still weak and needs healing? And third, where do I need to grow to overcome this challenge? When you begin to look for meaning, instead of looking for reasons to complain, you will find the burden on your shoulders becomes much lighter. The moment the question changes, the knot of suffering begins to loosen. No chaos, no transformation. We often pray for a smooth life without storms, but try to look deeper into the nature of growth. Absolute peace is sometimes a trap of stagnation. If the lake's surface never ripples, it becomes a stagnant pond. If life keeps pampering us with ease, our souls will fall asleep in complacency and weakness. It is the storms, the crises, and the chaos that serve as the loudest wake-up calls, forcing us to open our eyes, to change and to rise. Think of a seed. If you place that seed on a clean, safe-soiled table, it will forever remain just a dry seed. For life to sprout, that seed must be buried in the dark, cold, and pressure-filled earth. It must endure the painful cracking of its hard outer shell so the green sprout can reach for the sunlight. Perhaps right now, you feel like that seed, buried amidst darkness and suffocation. But please do not be afraid. That darkness is not a grave to bury you. It is the necessary nurturing environment for rebirth. The breaking you feel is the sign that a stronger, wiser version of you is stirring awake. Trust this process, because growth rarely comes from the comfort zone. The story of the cocoon and the butterfly. Contemplate the story of the butterfly cocoon. A man saw a young butterfly struggling to crawl out of a tiny hole in its cocoon. Out of pity and a desire to help, he took scissors and gently snipped the shell open. The butterfly emerged easily, but tragically, it had a swollen body and shriveled, weak wings. That butterfly spent the rest of its short life crawling, and was never able to fly into the sky. The man did not understand that the painful struggle to squeeze through the narrow opening was the only way to force the fluid from its body into its wings, making them strong and sturdy. Your current challenges carry exactly the same sacred meaning. The pressure you endure is not to crush you, but to pump strength into your soul. Please remember that the struggle is not the problem. It is the most necessary preparation for high flights. The invisible order of the universe. My dear friend, when we look at nature, we see an invisible but perfect order. The cold winter will give way to a warm spring. The river always finds its way to the great sea, despite winding through 100,000 bends. Nothing is accidental, and nothing is a mistake in that great design. Buddhism calls this Dharma, the law, or the operating rules of nature. Your life is also an inseparable part of this great flow. The events that happen, no matter how chaotic and irrational they may seem to our mortal eyes, at a deeper level, they all follow absolutely precise laws of cause and effect. Imagine you are swimming in the middle of the ocean and suddenly encounter a great storm. The first reflex of fear is to strain yourself to swim against the current, trying to fight the violent waves. But the more you struggle, the faster you exhaust yourself and sink. Experienced sailors understand that the only way to survive is to relax the body, lean into the waves, and let the natural current bring you to shore. Life operates exactly like that ocean. When you face adversity, resistance, blame, or torment, only makes you more tired. But when you dare to loosen your control, dare to trust that the universe is supporting you, you will find a strange peace right in the heart of the storm. The flow may take you to a different shore than originally intended, but it is certainly where you need to be to learn the most important lessons. When we stop fighting life, we suffer less and begin to understand more. Trust the flow, letting go of the illusion of control and the art of why. The greatest root of anxiety is the need to control everything. We want to know exactly what tomorrow will be like. We want others to behave according to our wishes. And we want work results to be 100% perfect. But this life has never signed a contract of certainty with anyone. That forced control is like trying to use your hands to reshape the flow of a great river. You will only receive disappointment and exhaustion. Instead, learn the spirit of Wu Wei, an art of living in harmony with nature. Wu Wei does not mean doing nothing. It does not mean laziness or indifference. Wu Wei is taking action with all your effort and enthusiasm, but without forcing, without clinging to the result. Do your part with all sincerity, sow the seeds, water them, and tend to them. But after that, step back and let the sun and rain of the universe do the rest of the work, sprouting and blooming. Do not stand guard over the tree and force it to grow fast. To practice this, look back at your past. How many times did things not go as originally planned, leaving you utterly disappointed, only for the final result to lead you to a turning point better than expected? That is evidence of the wisdom of the flow. Trust that. You only need to do your part well. Life will take care of the rest perfectly. Finding peace in uncertainty. My dear friend, we often spend our whole lives seeking certainty, but the true nature of life is uncertainty. We fear because we do not know what tomorrow will bring or what storm will strike. But imagine life as a vast ocean. Storms can rise at any time. That is the natural way of the sea. Peace does not come from praying for the sea to be calm and the wind to be still forever, but from the ability to keep a steady oar and the serene mindset of a sailor amidst those waves. There is a story about a Zen master living in a temple on a high mountain. One day, when a great storm struck, instead of fleeing in panic or locking the doors in fear, he brewed a pot of tea, opened the window wide, and sat calmly watching the power of nature. He did not try to fight the storm, nor did he let the fear of the storm invade his soul. He chose to be present with it with absolute composure. He understood that the storm outside could not shake the stillness inside unless he allowed it. Fear of the future actually arises from our lack of faith in our own ability to cope. But look back. You have overcome all your worst days in the past to be here today. You are much stronger and more resilient than you think. Therefore, please engrave this truth in your heart. Peace does not come from having all the answers for the future. Peace comes from trusting in yourself. When you believe that no matter what happens, you have enough courage to overcome it, then uncertainty is no longer a threat, but becomes a part of the adventure called life. My dear friend, today's journey to explore the power of awakening concludes here. Remember that every experience you go through, whether joy or pain, is neither meaningless nor accidental. Every moment is a precious lesson, silently guiding you on the path of growth and transformation. If you have ever felt like you are fighting negative thoughts or straining against reality, you now know that you don't have to. You are not the storm. You are the tolerant sky. You are not the violent wave. You are the deep ocean. Keep that awareness as a gift you give to yourself. Practice observing instead of reacting. Let go of control and trust in the flow of life. When you learn to live with compassion and acceptance, you will find true peace. Not from changing the outside world, but from the stillness and clarity within. If this video has touched your heart, please leave a comment sharing what you have learned, and don't forget to press the subscribe button so we can continue to accompany each other on this journey. Wishing you always find peace within yourself.